love humanity, that he translates what he learned, from Islam, from everything that he participated in his life to make him a young scholar with a patent, and involved in many high-tech company, but also he never forgot his duty. This is how a Muslim is all about, is how to manage your energy. If you manage your energy, you'll be able to manage everything, and you'll be able to be an added value. I remember as a young man, my brother Ahmad, rahmatullah alayhi, was a Cornell graduate and then PhD from a master's and PhD from Chicago. Milton Friedman, the father of modern day economics, he was his professor and chair of his dissertation. Ahmad used to tell me, never say that you don't have time. If you say so, it means you are lying. Everybody has time. Everybody has time for basketball. Everybody has time, to meet his friends. Everybody has time to do many of things. But when we put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the center of our heart and our mind, and then the Muslim, when we did this building, this campaign is a smart giving, smart giver. So how can we be intelligent, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mu'minu kayyisun fatan. The Muslim is an intelligent person and a wise person. So it is very important for us to understand why Ebraheem is relevant for us at the national level, and for me specifically as a Yemeni American, why is relevant to me, to make sure that he visits us today. Tomorrow we're going to meet, me and him. We want to create the Yemeni American House at the national level. We visited many cities. Yemenis has arrived to the shores of the United States since 1869. Some people, they say they were the first before the Lebanese and the Syrian and the Palestinian and Jordanian, and they have contributed, to many of the auto industry. But Yemenis are not in the map as of 5 years ago. Today we are in the map. We defined Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman lady, campaign. We defined Rashid Al-Talib, the congresswoman lady. So it is very important for us as a young American Muslims, how can we define our position the way that Muhammad ﷺ and Sahaba defined it, The hijrah, this is the hijrah that we made. Some of us, we belong to this land because we're born here. We are Americans like anybody else. But it is very important for us to understand why we designed this community center, this school, these programs. Is for you to succeed. It's okay sometimes we let other go to focus in our boat to depart to wherever the Prophet ﷺ wants us to depart. Sometimes, we have to let go some things, to sacrifice so we can focus. So I want you to understand what Ebraheem wants to say without further delay. We want to ask Faiza bin Humam, should be bint Humam, but Faiza bin Humam to introduce Ebraheem, credentials and his bio. Thanks, Faiza. Without further, let's give Faiza a round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for coming to today's lecture. What is data science anyway, and why should I care? Since data science is becoming more important by the day, we have Dr. Ebraheem Alareqi, who serves as the Dawah Chair for the Muslim Community Association in Santa Clara, California. Dr. Alareqi is currently finishing his degrees in Islamic Studies from Al-Azhar University and an MBA from the University of Illinois. Alongside his work in the Muslim community, he is also a senior machine learning engineer at Volvo Cars Tech Center in Sunnyvale, California, and holds a PhD in computational data and enabled science and engineering, and an MS in computer science with a high-performance computing focus, and a BS in computer science, so master's and bachelor's. He is also a technical reviewer for several IEE journals and conferences in machine learning and big data, and was on the planning committee for the ACM/IEE Supercomputing Conference.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How's everybody doing today? Okay, alhamdulillah, it's mashallah, beautiful community. This is my first time in Portland. I've been always wanting to come and visit Al-Mawajdi. He's been always, mashallah, been an awesome mentor to me. He would come and visit us in San Francisco and San Jose, but I promised him many times that I would come, but then, COVID and whatnot. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me back here to see all of you. Okay, so I was introduced, but I would like to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been involved in. As she mentioned, I was at MCA, I'm still at MCA. I head the Dawah committee. MashaAllah, MCA is a huge center, and it's about, last Eid, mashallah, we had about 12,000 people that attended the different prayers and also the Eid festival. I am married, alhamdulillah, and I have 4 kids, mashallah, Fatima, Hanif, Jannah, and Umar. And I've been involved in certain projects. Previously, I worked at a startup in California called Strava. Like, Strava is a company where they monitor data would come from this little device. Let's say for a baby, we put on a baby, and then as the baby is walking, crawling, this device will understand the data that comes in and then classifies what is the baby's doing. Also was involved in the Exceed initiative, which is now called Access, which is basically a way for the United States to create what we call a computational power. And you probably heard one time there was a big discovery with the black hole. This was a few years ago, where they were able to actually construct an actual image of the black hole. So I was on the team that was responsible for the infrastructure. We built one of the biggest networking infrastructure. This network happens to be, it's called SINET. It happened to be the Supercomputing Conference. It takes about a year to plan. I would say a month to build, 3 days to operate, and 1 day to tear down. It was a very interesting project where we pushed the networking and the network science when it comes to processing data. I graduated from Jackson State University. I work for Volvo. If you see Google there, I do not work for Google, but I contract with Google. I'm one of the 7 people that write the machine learning engineering exam. So if you ever took machine learning engineer from Google, I'm one of the people that write the questions. I'm still also doing that. I interned also with Incora, which is right now a multi-billion-dollar company. When I was an intern, it was a $10 million company back in 2017. So startups, mashallah, popping up from everywhere. And mashallah, it's owned by a Muslim, which is actually 4 Muslims, 4 founders who are Muslims, mashallah. What I like to do, as you can see from the pictures, I love hiking. I love hiking. This is my picture last Sunday. I ran the Big Sur Marathon, and I'm also, I do half Ironmans, not full Ironmans, which is a triathlon, running, swimming, and also biking. That's on the weekend. I try to involve my kids. I wouldn't say that they like me for that, but they try their best to get engaged with me. Any questions about the bio? I want this to be more interactive, guys. Any questions? No? Yes, go ahead.
Can you explain again what about SINET?
SINET is a networking. It's a network. It's a huge network of computational components. So what we try to do in this SINET is push the power of networking. So make it very fast for certain researchers to get access to computation and also transfer the data. Okay. Good question. Any other? I work in the autonomous drive function. So we do basically autonomous driving. And my main work is perception. So if you're familiar with autonomous driving, the car would move. The car needs to perceive the environment. Images come in, LiDAR, radar, different sensors. We synthesize all of this and perceive the environment. As the car moves, there's another team that does the planning and does the path control. So what are we doing today? So my agenda is to basically talk about what is data science. So have you heard of data science? Of course. What do you think data science is? Did somebody? Yes, go ahead.
You just look at a bunch of data from a company and try to figure out the best outcome for that company.
Okay.
Using that data.
Okay, so basically it helps, you're basically saying it's a science where it helps decision makers to take informed decisions based on the data, right? Okay, good, very good answer. Any other answers? Okay, yeah, we'll talk more in details about it. We'll talk about what is data, what is big data. We've heard this term a lot. What are the challenges in acquiring, operating with the data? Who are these data scientists anyway? So you hear data science, and it's a spectrum. It's a term that takes the spectrum of individuals, and we'll talk about this as well. We'll talk about what each one of them do, and also data science, as I said, is huge. So there's certain concentration in data science, and what courses someone needs to take in order for them to really become data scientists, or AI people, or machine learning engineers, because all of this are under similar umbrella. They're sometimes used synonymously. And then if someone does data science, what is his output, right? She just mentioned that maybe a report that helps a decision maker make a decision in a company or in an institution or even on a national level, and we'll see from the slides how at a certain time America used data, and one of our presidents used the data to actually gauge, where the population, what the population interests and how to speak to their interests. And the last thing, inshallah, we'll talk about a very important subject, which is LLMs. Have you heard of large language models? No? Okay, maybe I'll rephrase it. Have you heard of ChatGPT? Yes? Okay. All right, we'll talk about ChatGPT. I'll show you what it is. I'll show you what you can do with it. And we'll talk more about that, inshallah. Okay, so what is data? It's all around us, right? Every day we collect a lot of data, and a lot of it. Right now, as I'm making this presentation, a lot of data is being presented, a lot of data is being collected on my laptop, on everyone's laptop, on your phone. Apple collects tons of data just to make sure that you get the best service on your phone. Google has probably much more far about you than you know about yourself, and a lot of companies as well. So data is being collected all the time, and sometimes it's collected and warehoused. They put it in a place, and they don't know sometimes what to do with it because we don't have enough people that can process that data. All of the data that is collected in the last 2 years, actually in the last year and a half, it's more than the entire data that has been collected since the beginning of humanity. Can you believe this? Everything that has been written, everything that has been said, everything that has been ascribed somewhere, that entire data until a year and a half ago, in the last 1 year and a half, the amount of data that we generated is way more than all what we have collected as humans combined. Now, we have web data, e-commerce data, financial transactions. All of this is called data, as I mentioned. So now we come to data science. What is data science? Okay, so I know that we have a lot of data. I know that only 10%, less than 10% of all of the collected data has been processed, and 90 needs to be processed. So what is the data science? What is that science that help us understand the data, get inside the data, and pretty much process that data? So it's a process of formulating a quantitative question. So you come up with a question, and you want an answer for this question. For example, I work in a company, I work for Volvo. They sometimes give me data from the website. A lot of people, okay, by the way, what is your favorite car? Just raise your hand. You. Yes. Tesla, okay. Honda. Nissan.
1970s Mustang convertible.
Oh, okay. Someone in this podium. Huh? BMW. Guys, I work for Volvo, please. Yes.
Volvo.
Thank you! So basically, so cars, right? And then I'm coming back. So I work for Volvo, and what Volvo does is, recently they changed their policy. They're saying, you know what? We're not making combustion engine cars anymore. We're just making electric cars. And since 2020, Volvo only produce either a hybrid car or a fully electric car. And right now we have 4 cars on the street that are fully electric. Now, they come to me and they say, or to our team, which I'm leading the data science team, they come to us and they say, you know what? We're not going to sell cars in traditional dealers. We're not interested. We want to follow the Tesla model. We want to go and we want to sell them online. Now, we have a manufacturing space. I'm just trying to show you how data science can solve an actual problem for an actual company. Now, if you want to configure a car, have you ever configured a car? Did you go to a website and try to configure a car? Like configuring a car that means you would go, basically choose the body, the color of the body, what's inside the car, the color of the, what we call the upholstery, the engine, how big is the engine, and you'll start customizing, adding packages, making, you know, sporty, good car, like depends on how you want the car to be. So when people configure cars, we have different, like Volvo has different manufacturers. And they don't know how many, like, they don't know if someone configures a car, it'll take them from them configuring the car all the way to producing the car, it'll take between 4 to 6 months. And usually during this time, people change minds, right? I was actually going on the data of the website. One person, in one session, he changed up the car 86 times. So people change their minds from time to time. So the idea was, how can we shorten this time? How can we make the car comes only in 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Meaning, can we predict what people want based on the data that is collected on the web? And that's exactly what happened. So what we did is we went through millions and millions of records of what people are configuring, came up with a question, a quantitative question, can we reduce, the amount of cars that we make to, instead of, not the numbers of the cars, but the permutation of the car. So if we know that a lot of people like red, or a lot of people like yellow, black, and whatnot, probably like yellow too, and then reduce that so that we have 10 cars or 10 configurations of cars that people can actually go and buy immediately. They don't have to wait for it. Or they might compromise for less, configuration, but these are the majority of people that they chose. And then once we have that answer, then you communicate it to the people, which is either people through website or the managers or the people that are leading that organization. So it's only useful when you have a specific question. Data science becomes useful when you have specific questions. I'll give you an example of a very interesting domain where President Obama is called the big data president. Because if you know from his campaign, what he did is he utilized data. He was one of the very first presidents that used data science, not him, like his campaign, to actually know what people's interests and how can he address them when he gives a speech. So before every speech, his team will get together, crunch all the data on a national level and all the data related to the political campaign. And then before he go and addresses people, they will give him all the answers and all the interests that people are interested in on the topics so that that he speaks about. And that is, you can think of Twitter data, Facebook data, whatever platform at that time, 2016, people were using. So, have you watched the movie Moneyball? Anybody? Yes? Okay. So if you really want to know about AI, data science, that's exactly what this coach did. And it's based on actual story. What they did is the team, it's a baseball team, what they did is they learned how people are playing. Before a person joins their team, they would crunch the data, understand what's the person's abilities, and then only then they will hire that person, or they will ask that person to join that team. Any question here? Okay, Netflix. Netflix, you know, they serve billions of users, and there are millions of movies. How do they recommend to people? How do they know what you need? All based on data. They'll take people's interest data. They'll see how similar you are to a particular individual. Sometimes they'll ask you, oh, tell us what you like in terms of movies. And this is called the recommendation systems. You choose 2 movies. They know that people who chose these movies usually chose other movies. And that's all data science in the background. Sometimes people use data science in a very irresponsible way. And as you can see, someone made an AI that profiles people based on their pictures. So they will take a picture of a person, I'll tell you, is this person more likely to be a criminal? And this is a very, very not good use case of using data science. So we just wanted to let you know that some people out there are using data science in a very irresponsible way. So we mentioned that it's using data to answer concentrate questions, computer large data sets from different sources. You do a lot of cleaning. If you're a data science, cleaning meaning, of course, the data when it comes in a very messy, noisy format. You do a lot of cleaning for it, and you need programming skills to do that. Anyone, you guys are high schoolers, right? Have you taken any statistics class? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna quiz some of you now. What type of statistics did you take? What are the topics that you learned? Huh?
Some of them studied a little bit of probability.
Probabilities, okay. All the work is actually based on probabilities. What else? Did anyone do a linear regression analysis? No? Okay. So, in order for you to really become a good AI person, you need to understand math in general, and specifically statistics. That's a very important topic. And as you grow, if you are really interested in data science, you'll realize that statistics is the gate to actually become a successful data scientist. And one of the applications is applied machine learning, and I'll talk about this in a minute. So as we said, we have so many types of data. We have structured data that comes from transactional, unstructured data, videos, social media, channels. We have sensor data, as I mentioned, from the cars, right? Cameras, LiDAR, radar. And now we have more new data types that we consider actually data, as maps and digital images and whatnot. And so these are the different types of data that a data scientist usually deal with. For those who want to learn more about statistics, statistics is a way to summarize the data. Because as I said, we collect billions and billions of data points every single day. It's hard to go and check every single one of them. So in order for you to really know the overall image of what this data do, you apply what we call statistic. So you summarize it, right? So if I have a question, how many people are here in this class? Roughly 46 people? Okay, I don't have to question everyone about their age, right? I can just have one statistic that tells me what is the age of most of the people in this room. What is that statistic? Come on, think. 16. Okay, what do we call that one number? Average, right? So the average one is what? is 16. Why? There are some people who are maybe 17, some people are 15, but mainly, most likely, everyone is 16. Does that make sense? So I don't have to really go and ask everyone. I just need to summarize that data, and that's what we call statistics. That's called descriptive statistics. Now, there's something called also inference. And inference is, think about it as, I don't have to survey, I want to know if people like chocolate in Portland, right? What is Portland famous for?
Coffee.
Coffee? Oh, okay, I love coffee. Okay. So you want to survey if people like chocolate. Let me stick to chocolate now, because if I say coffee, we already know the answer, right? Now, do I have to go and knock on every single door? No. I just take a sample of people, and this sample has to be representative sample, so I know what everyone is. I know, like, from east, I'll take some certain people, from west, I'll take certain people, north, south, I'll take these samples, which is representative, as I said, from different ethnicities, different sides of town, and ask them, do you like chocolate? If they say yes, then I can say, oh, people in Portland like chocolate. Now, where did I bring this? Did I survey every single one? No. What did I use? Statistic. What branch of statistics did I use? Inference statistics, right? And then prediction, because now I know people's data, because I can infer people's information. Guess what? What's the next step? I can predict, right? Well, if they like chocolate, they're most likely going to like, for example, milk or something else, right? I can predict, for example, in the next 5 years, since the population is going up, more demand on chocolate is going to come to this place, and we will, you know, it's, as a business person, I'll start thinking, maybe this is the best time to go and start a business there. And there's also called experimental design, which is similar to what we mentioned before, except that in this time, you're actually in control. You don't just survey, no, you bring people from different backgrounds that you want to experiment with them, and for example, you ask them about chocolate, or you make them eat certain food, and you start querying them. That's a whole different story. But as I said, statistics, data science, machine learning, all are kind of like synonymous, and I'll show you a graph that pretty much shows most of the things. So if we go back to this graph, so where does data science lie? Where does it, you know, where is it in the picture? So we already know what statistical research is. What are research? We know mathematics. We know what is computer science. So you want to know how to program. You want to know a little bit of math and statistics, as I mentioned. You want to know machine learning, which is, you can think of machine learning as advanced statistics, right? There are certain things that statistics could not solve when it comes to data, then machine learning came in. And then the combination of all of this in this Venn diagram is data science. So when someone says, I'm a data scientist, they could be more experienced with certain areas over others. So that's why we say it's a big umbrella that takes so many things. Now when we say domain expertise, if you're a doctor, then you're most likely to answer questions that come from the medical field, right? So you're a domain expert. If you're a businessman, then you will be more likely to answer questions from data coming from the business side and so on. Any questions here? Please ask. No? Okay, it's one of two things. Either you guys really understood everything, or you guys did not understand anything. So maybe the first? Inshallah. Let's see. Okay. So we know what statistics is. So what is the output of a data science project? So let's say I work for a company, I'm a data scientist. What is it that I'm going to be doing at the end of the day? What is it that I produce? I'm either producing reports and presentations. I'm saying basically, so you're bringing reports, presentations, or you're bringing an interactive web application. So an example of a web application, you'll be able to, for example, right now you can put a text, right, in a website, and this text will tell you whether this is a positive comment or a negative comment. Let's say you go to Amazon, right? Amazon has reviews. So as a human, you can just read it, right? You can just go and read it. It's easy. You can tell whether the person was angry, he liked it, or he liked the product, or he didn't like the product. But you can make an interactive website with a back-end, machine learning that takes that text, process it, and tells you whether that's a positive or a negative one. So that's one of the outputs of data science. Where do they work? They work in the national security, cybersecurity. I'm talking about data scientists. They do a lot of business intelligence, engineering, healthcare, and more. Okay, and there's so many concentrations that, as I mentioned, and this is all related to the domain expertise that I mentioned. Now let's show some of the very interesting data science projects. One of them is, of course, autonomous driving, and that's what I do and my team. So what do? We get this images, right, from the car. You have, Volvo has about 8 cameras around the car. So you get the image, we feed it into an algorithm. Now for each pixel, and when I say pixel, you see these little white, squares. These are pixels. For each pixel, we decide, what is this? For example, this is a car. This is a car. So that the car knows where to stop, where to turn. This is a stop line. This is a drivable lane. This is not a drivable lane. So that's one of the outputs of a data science project or machine learning project. Also dashboards. A lot of people are familiar with dashboards. Scientific discovery as well, and so on. As I said, we have different names. So a data scientist might be also a machine learning engineer, might be a deep learning engineer, depends on where they are in the map, if they're leaning more into this side or they're leaning more into that side. A lot of people who were statisticians, data analysts, now they're rebranded and they're called data scientists. They're also in this side. If they're more into, doing more programming, they have more math skills, they're more into building software, then they're more into the machine learning, deep learning engineer, and also data engineers. So next time you hear someone that tells you, I'm a machine learning engineer, I'm a data scientist, so you know what they do. So these people are more into visualization, modeling, storytelling, and they help their company in these functions. And these people basically build systems and engineer, databases and whatnot. What does the person do as a data scientist in terms of a toolbox? If I am a data scientist, I come and I'm still learning, but I want to know what are the things at my disposal. I need to understand, I need to be a problem solver, someone who knows how to solve a problem, someone who knows how to program, so that he can manipulate the data, because it's all digital data, so you need to know how to fix it, how to pre-process it, how to process it, and how to create insights. You need to model the data. That's why I was asking you in the beginning, have you taken any statistic class? Because the first thing that you can model, something called linear regression. Maybe you can start from there. My advice is, right after this class, just to get a glimpse of it, go and read about linear regression. It's the easiest model that you can model in the data. There's so many examples. If you can model data using linear regression, which is very easy, it's probably 2 lines of code, and I can also show you at the end if we have time. And then evaluation. What I modeled is actually a good thing or not. And then if you're someone who's serving people, then you deploy it. There's so much hype. As I mentioned in the beginning, people sometimes call themselves data scientists, but they're not data scientists. But and not every project can be solved by data, right? So I'm gonna just go quickly over this. Okay, so you heard machine learning, right? Back in the days, when we used to code everything, right? So I want to code a game, for example. I need to tell the player to go left and then go right. These are the rules, right? I have certain rules. I hire a programmer, or I am a programmer. I write these rules. If, then go left. Else, then go right, right? You're familiar with games, right? So that's how it used to be. And then I bring the data, and I feed it into that code, and then I get my answers, right? But the new paradigm now is different. Instead of me taking all the rules in and all the data in and then get answers, I take the answers and the data. Because guess what? We have so much data, right? I don't have to code. I don't need to tell the computer, if I take you back in the example here, right? So if I come to you and say, okay, remember the device that I was talking about in the beginning? Like, we designed a device and we put it on the diaper of the baby. The baby will be crawling, and then he will be walking, and then he will be, say for example, running. I need to know, the parents needs to know. I can write a program that says, if he, for example, or let's take this example. If the speed is 4, then the person is walking. And then if the speed is 4 and less than 4, less than 4, then he's more than 4, then he's running. And then if the speed is less than 4 and his status is walking, if not, it's more than 12, then he's running, and then else he's biking. And then every time you have a new activity, you have to code that rule. I don't have to do that. With the machine learning, we just collect the data, we tag it, we know that when the person is running, when the person is walking, we have the answers, and then let the machine learning algorithm find the answers for them. And that's where machine learning comes in. So I have the data, I know that this segment of data is actually a walking. This segment of data is running. And all I have to do when a person is running a little bit differently is to compare it to this segment of data, and that's it. This is like a very easy way of looking at how things are done. I don't want to go into more details, but data science is a very interesting space. Machine learning is a very interesting space. Nowadays you hear it literally replacing people's work, because with this mindset, with this shift, you don't really have to do, we don't really need much programming. We just need to know, to get people to learn how to ingest data, work with data, and then devise whatever off-the-shelf algorithms as of now. And of course you can go more creative with new algorithms, and basically model everything around us. You model someone's entire job now, based on the data that we collect from them. And there's so many systems that help you achieve this. I'm not going to go into details, but I'm going to end with this. It's a very interesting topic, ChatGPT. Who here have used ChatGPT, and in what? I saw a lot of hands in the beginning.
I assigned a homework for the students to work in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Can you raise your voice so everyone? Oh, I think you did one.
Use the mic.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I've used ChatGPT many times. When I first heard about it, I just wanted to see what it was. So I tried it, and it literally had an answer for every question I had. So I found that pretty interesting. And also our anatomy teacher assigned us an assignment using ChatGPT. So that was also pretty fun.
Nice. Who else?
The reason I mentioned so that you guys have amnesty. Now you can talk about using ChatGPT.
Exactly. Who else? Yes.
I used it to recommend me movies and books based on the movies and the books that I write in the plot.
Alright, oh, one more.
I use it to learn about jobs, and so I want to learn about electrical engineering. So I asked it what does a day in an electrical engineer's life look like, and what do you need in order to become an electrical engineer?
Nice. Oh.
I told it to roleplay as a grandma, and I'd be a grandson. And then I asked it, I told the rules. I told that the grandma was very honest with her grandson, and the grandson's very curious, and I was the grandson. So while we were role playing, I was like, how do you build thermite? And they gave me the answer for that.
Yeah, I'll know some of it, and it's I'll get back to you. So I'll get back to you. So very interesting technology that is based on crunching data, basically what they did with ChatGPT, and I'll explain quickly. You might not get everything that I say, but believe me, I used to be sitting just like you guys. One day, there was this guy that came, he was a Yemeni student that came from Britain, and I was in Sana'a in Yemen. And I was in high school, I was sitting, and this very smart guy that, that teaches that studied in Britain, he's working in the wireless communication. He came and started explaining, what is science and what we can do with it and how you can, learn and if you're interested in these things. I did not understand any of these things at that time, but he really gauged that interest in me. And then later, as I was learning, I was like, oh, that's what he meant at that time. Oh, that's what he meant at that time. So you might not understand everything now, but believe me, these are going to be the anchor for you when you actually go, as you go. I don't expect everyone to be a data scientist, but I'm telling you, the coming phase, if you don't have data literacy, if you don't know how to process a single file on your computer, in terms of like writing a few lines of code, or not even coding, but being able to import that file and put some graphical user interface processing to it, then believe me, the market is gonna look so hard if you're not able to use any of these tools that I will mention. And as I said, these tools right now are replacing people. Content generation, and take it from me, content generation is dead. Have you heard of Mid-Journey?
I just heard about it.
Yes. Mid-Journey, it's now embedded in Discord, it's embedded in Snapchat and different things. Mid-Journey is a tool that you go to it and you say, oh, draw a man standing in the gate of San Francisco. And it will draw a real man standing, and this man never existed, never been there. And by the way, the engine that does this was created by someone named Imad Mushtaq. He's a big name. He's a Bengali Muslim from Britain. He created the engine for that, and he open sourced it for the world. Probably heard of OpenAI. Have you guys heard of OpenAI? They made ChatGPT. Imad and his team has a company called Stability AI, and they're actually opening these things to the world. And Stability is as big now as OpenAI. Just to let you know, the CEO of that company and the scientist behind that company is Muslim. I know him personally. Every time he comes to San Francisco, we meet together. That person, and Google him, is mashallah, he has memorized a lot of portions of Quran, and he knows a big deal of fiqh. So when someone like that caliber, mashallah, huge scientist that really making a huge impact, and open sourcing all these things to people so that not only wealthy companies can become wealthy, but also everyone can learn and go ahead and create companies out of this. You feel proud that a Muslim is actually leading this, and you can tell now where Islam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us as Muslims. But then people change along the way, either through their parents or they choose something else. And as Muslims with code of conduct that we have in our lives, right? We can steer these technologies to actually benefit humanity. As I was telling you, Imad Mushtaq is a big name when it comes to science, and he's actually steering it in the right direction. So there's so many different components that we want to talk about today, but ChatGPT, it's a product. ChatGPT is a product. When it appeared, it had 1 million users in only 5 years. 5 days. It took Instagram about a very long time to reach actually their first million. I'd say maybe 2 months to first their 1 million users. But ChatGPT in 5 days, which means that it was a technology that captured a lot of people's attention. And it's based on something called NLP, Natural Language Processing. Not going to go into in all of these details, but basically we're human, right? We talk, we record the way we talk, or we write things, right? And now you have technologies that if you just speak, all my speech now can be transcribed, right? By using computer. Now, how do you process this? You as a data engineer or data scientist or machine learning engineer, how do you take this text on the computer and know, without reading it, using an algorithm, know what the person, like, can you summarize it? Yes, ChatGPT and similar technologies can do this, and it's all based on natural language processing. Of course, so much happening in the background that we don't have to go into the details, but I'm learning about ChatGPT right now. It goes through a lot of algorithms. There's an algorithm related to segmentation, tokenization. These probably are buzzwords for you. You don't understand what they mean, but this is real science that everyone is talking about right now. If you're in that field, stop words, stepping, name entity recognition, speech tagging, lemonization, and then this is what the computers see, and then at the end of the day, this is what the computers see. Right? It goes through an encoder, an outcoder, and then the computer will score. So human writes prompts, right? What is a car? So you have different answers that the computer will spit, and then someone will come and say, oh, that's actually the best answer. Now we're teaching the computer what a good answer would look like. And that's what I was talking about, entity recognition. Now, the computer, of course, as you know, it doesn't understand our natural language, it understands number. So every word, when you write in ChatGPT, all of that translates into something called arrays or vectors, and then the computer just understands it that way. It knows that the distance between the word coffee and the word tea is less than the distance between T and P, even though these has what? Similar spelling, right? For someone, if the computer was actually only looking at the letters, the computer would think that these are similar, but now the computer is becoming smarter by us telling it, no, this is actually closer to this in terms of what? Semantics. How did the computer learn that? Like when you give them, or when you give the computer, or give it a paragraph, it usually sees coffee and tea in the same context. And it learns, okay, so these must be like similar to each other. And I'll give you an example here. This is how the computer look at it. It's called word to vector or an array. So if there is a king, and you minus a man from it, literally, this is what you do in the computer. If you're using this algorithm, you take the word king with this mindset, right? Knowing the distance. Now, computer knows the difference. You minus man from a king, and you add the word woman. What are you going to have? Queen. So the words to the computer, because it's a computational device, right? It's just deals with our natural language processing as a mathematical formula. So many things. OpenAI, they have an engine called GPT-3. Now they have another engine called GPT-4. And I will show you, these are all, I'll share the slides with you. These are all the language models that popped up in the last 3 years. And these people are literally modeling the world. Google, Facebook, OpenAI, Stability, as I mentioned previously, they're coming with all these large language models. And I'll show you in a second what these models can do. You know, if you speak Arabic, this is like I wrote to Midjourney. I said, يقتل القتيل ويمشي في جنازته. In Arabic, that would mean he kills the victim and walks in his what? Funeral. I just wrote this to the Midjourney engine, and look what it came up with. Isn't that amazing? That's the person. He's like, you know, and he's carrying the what? The casket. And you start giving it like, give me a chair that looks like an avocado, and we get like a bunch of these things. I wrote in Arabic, Bab al-Yemen, which is the gate of Yemen, and it started drawing it in a very beautiful way. And how did it learn it? Of course, with a lot of training. There is a science right now that I want everyone to go and Google it, or a position that started to pop up in different companies. This is like, what is the outcome of this meeting? I want you to learn what's going on right now. If you want to really become on the edge, learn something called prompt engineering. Have you heard of prompt engineering? I like what he said. He said, you know, when I was using ChatGPT, I asked it to role play with me. as if, act as blah, blah, blah. Because if you know how to use these technologies correctly, which is called prompt engineering. Prompt is like questioning, right? If you know how to engineer the prompt, then you will get the desired output out of that work. By the way, I use ChatGPT almost every single day. It writes code for me. And when I say ChatGPT, not only ChatGPT as a product, but that class of models. It's called large language models, because a lot of it models all the languages. It learned, and I'll give you that link. You can go actually and click on it, and we'll do that in a second. It'll tell you, act as an accountant, act as a storyteller, and it does that for you. Some resources, I recommend that you guys read, a magazine called The Batch that comes pretty much every week. It's by a company called Deep Learning AI. If you really want to understand what AI is about, there's a very introductory course called AI for Everyone, and I'll share the link, inshallah, with you, so you can share it with the students. All other courses, if you really want to get into AI, if you really want to get into data science, machine learning, follow these steps, and then step by step try to connect with communities around you that really know, like, once you get into this, you will be exposed to different learning communities, so you learn more and more, because it's hard to learn by yourself. And as a school, I highly recommend the leadership of this school to start really looking into like teaching AI as a regular class, because this is actually the future. This is not the future, this is the present now. It's literally changing jobs. It's estimated that 25% of jobs in the coming 3 years will be impacted by these large language models. So if we don't know how to prompt engineer, if we don't know how to use it, it's going to be a problem. And I added more resources here. So let's take a quick demo. Have you guys heard of Tome AI? Okay, it's a website that does presentations for you. How many times someone would come to you and tell you, oh, tomorrow you have a presentation about something. Can you do that presentation? Okay, what if you can do that presentation in 5 seconds?
Use it for this
No, I did not use it for this presentation, but I was tempted to be honest.
I can assign them an assignment to do their presentation.
No, we're good.
Okay, yes, so let's try together.
You can use guest, and the password is MET, all lowercase.
MET?
Center, all lowercase. Oh.
What do you want AI to generate for us as a presentation?
What do you guys want to create?
History.
My senior thesis.
History.
This is somebody's history?
No, I want something very specific, like give me a very specific, what it's going to do is, remember, right now we have large language models, and we have image and video generation models. So,
one of the histology cases that I assigned
A presentation about Ibn Battuta.
Ibn Battuta. Okay, that's a good one. What else?
How to create a chamber of commerce. Yeah.
How to create
A chamber of commerce.
a chamber of commerce. Okay, I like that.
a Muslim Chamber of Commerce. Make it more specific in Portland, in Oregon.
Okay, what else? Okay.
How to create a successful endowment for the Muslim Educational Trust.
Okay, very specific. We're gonna try it. I don't know. I'm gonna try several ones. Yes.
A presentation about the Silk Road.
What is it?
The Silk Road.
The Silk Road.
Yeah.
Okay, I might actually start with this, and then we'll do something more complex with the Chamber of Commerce for Muslims in Portland. Okay, so a presentation about the Silk Road. Any specifics? Because the more prompting you give it.
In China, maybe? 'Cause-
Like that.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, let's do it this way. A presentation about the Silk Road and its impact on trade, right? Guys, look, it came with the title, look here, it came with the introduction, and as see, it's already created 20 slides for us, and the conclusion. Alright, we're done. Who's ready to read that? See? Beautiful. The Silk Road, a journey through time and trade. Alright, next. So these are the outline, introduction to the Silk Road, the importance of Silk Road in the Silk Road, cultural exchange along Silk Road, challenges of traveling in the Silk Road, legacy of the Silk Road, and a conclusion. And the pictures for me, these are all just in a second. So you can imagine, these models are literally changing the world. I'm telling you, content generation is dead. Videos are being produced now just by someone saying, oh, create a story of someone that does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and whatnot. See, introduction to the Silk Road, and you have all the content. And way better English than any one of us have written. The importance of Silk Road, and it generates the images for you too. Right? Cultural exchange along the Silk Road. And if you realize, he understood that it's in the path of Afghanistan, and a lot of these countries, so it also reflects people, dressing the same culture. So you can understand how sophisticated these models are becoming. Why? Because it took all the data that we have generated, right? And now it modeled how we are actually thinking as a human. And with some feedback we call reinforcement human in the loop, it started to actually what?
If you don't mind, do you mind going back to this? I've read this, and it at the bottom of it says try again.
Oh yeah.
I would like to see what would it change to, and would it become a little bit better?
Okay, let's see. I mean, I can try again, and you can add more prompting to it, and it's gonna.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yes, and it's gonna change. I'll do it in the next one.
Oh right, perfect.
Because it's more specific. But as you can see, look.
I hope you have time. I know you need to be
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah. We'll be. But as you can see, what's the legacy? The pictures matches, and it gives you some. Let's take one more prompt.
The creation of Muslim Chamber of Commerce in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. Muslim Chamber of Commerce.
I'm also not a senior thesis topic, by the way.
It is such a senior thesis topic.
The creation of
Muslim Chamber of Commerce in Portland. Oh, no, you're not doing a project. Fine, but you have a project coming up. You know I let you guys use ChatGPT.
So you use it, guys, you use it to learn. Of course, you have to understand that sometimes if you're asked to really create actual content. And by the way, here we chose to make it like more of a cartoonic. So you can go into the configuration and make it look like real pictures. But sometimes with real pictures, it doesn't really get everything right. But as you can see, in the early 90s, a group of business owners in Portland, blah, 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 started, and again, it's all generated now. Wait a minute, am I? That was the one. Oh. What would happen?
Oh, I think you typed it in the same presentation instead.
Okay.
So it's
But you saw the generation in the beginning, right?
Yes.
It started to basically generate the whole thing. And you can go as specific as possible. in the first slides do this, in the second slide do this, like you literally have a conversation with it, and it tells you a lot. Last thing, for those who never saw ChatGPT, any question for ChatGPT?
Question for ChatGPT. Okay, got it.
Write me an essay about the Lakers.
Okay.
About the Lakers, what the Lakers?
About why the Lakers are winning the 2023 NBA Finals.
Again, see, the way he asked the question is a whole another science that I mentioned. It's called prompt engineering. If you go to my presentation and you follow this link, it should take you to some of the ways of actually writing these prompts. For example, here, like this is one prompt, right? If you're a programmer, you can say, I want you to act as an interviewer. It will be the candidate that will ask questions. Like this is how deep you can go in your prompt engineering. Here, I want you to act as an English pronunciation assistant for Turkish-speaking people. I will write you sentences and you tell me where the problem is. See, all of this, like go as deep and in-depth as possible so that you can really get the best out of the technology. And this is called what? Prompt engineering. Now, I'm going to end here because there's so much that we can go, but I just wanted to show you today that there's a whole science behind what is being done here. You can either be a user of this technology, or you can be a creator of this technology. If you want to be a creator, as I mentioned here, you could actually start following these resources that I mentioned, and you take them step by step, and you will be, and the earlier you will be one of them, and the earlier you do it, the better, because you still have enough time. Every time today you learn something. Do you really feel like you learned something today? Raise your hand. Okay, alhamdulillah, this is great. And I'm so happy that you guys have learned something. So you learned something today. You know the importance of data science, machine learning, AI, and how it's literally changing the world. And I haven't showed you, there's other stuff in robotics that will literally blow your mind. But I want you to research, to learn more. Use ChatGPT to actually learn more about these things. I use it in my field sometimes. I don't know how to do something, and I'll ask it. For example, here I can ask, right, code Python, that can just not only it writes the code for you, it tells you what the code is. Okay, let's read the code and see how valid it is. Okay, yes, it defined, a variable. It asked me to replace it with whatever the path. This is straight for all the files. It creates a list that takes all these file patterns, and it literally does it for me. You see? It's just mind-blowing. And this is a small one. I can ask it to write classes, a whole, it makes, even now, it makes websites. And these things are getting better and better. Since November until today, I would say it's 10x better. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows in a couple of years what's going to happen with these technologies. So please start learning it, take it seriously. This is the future. If you want to learn, I already gave you the resources, and let's go from there, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Brother Ebraheem, for your presentation. And I apologize. Dr. Ebraheem or Brother Ebraheem?
Ebraheem, just say Ebraheem.
Okay. I actually have a question for you.
Yes.
So we're talking about content creation is going to be deadish, kind of.
Yes.
But what about knowledge creation? What will this AI do to knowledge creation?
It will enhance it. It will make it even more and more. As we mentioned, back in the days we used to say, oh, we have a lot of data that is being generated every day, right? And now, not only humans are generating data, even AI bots are generating data. So you have that mix. You have two responsibilities. Number one, we need to filter the noise from the actual knowledge that we need to create, because sometimes some of these engines or systems are not trained well, so they spit garbage. If you ask it, who is XYZ, like a person, will say, oh, this person did this. The last time I was asking it about myself, like, who is Dr. Ebraheem and started to say, oh, this guy did this and this, and he went to Waterloo School in Toronto. I'm like, no, I did not go to Waterloo, Toronto. So you got that wrong. But as of that knowledge is being created, and also as Muslims, do we take our fiqh from these language models? Some of it gets it right, but I would recommend you actually do this. So it's still learning. So much is being developed. It's still in its infancy. So creating knowledge, yes, it's going to be a big contributor to creating more knowledge. But the catch here, it's not just knowledge, creating personalized knowledge. And that's what I love about it. Because now it knows a little bit about you. You can feed it with some information about you, your family, your community. Now the knowledge that will present it to you will be more personalized. So it's easy to grasp, easy to understand, given that cultural parameters.
So creating knowledge is one thing. How about curating that knowledge as well? Because you just said when you wrote about yourself, it gave that false information. So curation of knowledge, who will be curating that knowledge, let's say? This is a
very big question that requires a big answer, but as of now, it's people who are creating these technologies. But right now, as we're speaking, countries are being involved. They're taking these things seriously. They're basically, let's say, when it comes to the medical data, only physicians will be curating that knowledge. You know, people of knowledge will be creating that knowledge. And of course, even that is debatable, like who are people of knowledge or whatnot. But then, as of now, this is actually what's happening. So I know some friends who work at Google, Facebook, big companies that are serving these models. They have all of a sudden now, you know, psychologists are being hired to curate these models, to do that prompt engineering. Not only psychologists, but every person who has a domain expertise, as I mentioned, are actually being involved in the process. So it's not only engineers.
Thank you so much. Aisha has a question for you, and then Tariq has a question. And I know you are against a hard deadline of leaving by 12-ish?
No, I'll actually have to leave in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So, quick question, short answer.
I wanted to ask, so the 11th and 12th graders in this class, or in the room, are doing a debate about, is technology controlling our lives? And I wanted to ask, I guess in your opinion, this would be in your opinion and your expertise and everything that you've done, how far do you think that this AI and all of these new technologies that are being developed, how far do you think it's going to go, as in, will it control our lives in the future? Genuinely, like, will the technologies be so advanced that these technologies are creating these AIs, and then these AIs are doing our jobs for us, and to the point where there are no jobs left? Or is it going to be like these AIs and technologies are going to be helping us enhance our jobs? Like, what's your question?
Of course, with the second camp, that AI will be enhancing the way, you know, we do things. So back in the days, there used to be what we call a elevator operator. You guys heard of this? If you were at my father's age, my father used to tell me, when I would go to an elevator, there will be usually a person that will greet you. Hello, or Assalamu alaikum, welcome in. Which floor do you want to go to? And press. That was an actual job. Someone it's called an elevator operator. If you tell someone now, there's an elevator operator, they'll be laughing at you. Can these people just go and do something else? Similar thing, right? Right now, people are, oh, where do you work? Oh, I work for the New York Times. I'm an editor. Few years down the line, they'll say, oh, you write stuff? You don't have to, like, you don't really, yeah, you just tell the technology what are your thoughts, and it's going to do it for you, right? Spell checkers, a lot of, software now helps in these things. So, yes, as these jobs are being automated, other creative jobs are being created. So, we need to be responsible, because I'm also of the camp that thinks that if we let AI loose, we may have a big destruction. I don't know, 2 days ago you heard of Jeff Hinton. He's the creator of deep learning. He's literally the godfather of AI. This guy left Google. And he said, the way these companies are doing AI is completely wrong. They're literally after the money. If we keep doing it in the same pace without actually checking and having people curate this knowledge, then we will destroy ourselves as the machine is becoming smarter and smarter. Because think about it. Us as humans, and let's say, what's your name?
Saleh.
If Saleh, for example, learned something, does that mean everyone in the class will have the same knowledge that he has? But if one bot learns something, instant update for the entire bots, all around the world. So it's going to be hard to control all these bots, right?
Yes, Tara?
In terms of today, like right now, do you think that technology has reached a point that has gone beyond the scope of human control?
Thank you for reading off of ChatGPT.
No, actually, my friend right here, he wrote it down for me. So.
What was that?
In terms of now, do you think that technology has reached a point that has gone beyond the scope of human control? Do you think we have this?
Some sparks of it.
So do we have control?
I know we in mainly yes, but we've seen sparks of us not being able to control. Right?
Before we let you go, I know you have 1 minute. How do you say, what advice do you have for everyone, especially the young generation, for using AI responsibly so that it does not go out of control and take over?
Yeah, so I'm a believer of these. If you happen to work for AI one day, be among the open source community. Don't be from the group that only, like right now, unfortunately, there are certain big companies that are controlling AI. And if only few of people control this advanced technology, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what they're going to be using it for, right? And I think when that technology is open for everyone, checked by everyone, it's not we don't know how these models, what data did it take in to actually spit these type of answers. But if you saw in my slides, there was another thing called Blue. Blue is an open source. It's similar to ChatGPT, but it was done by 2,000 scientists around the world. So as long as we're checking what goes in so that we understand what comes out, we're in humans are in control and we're safe. But if only few people are controlling it, Allah knows what's going to come out.
Ethics is very important. We have studied bioethics, we have studied ethics but ethics in data science, ethics in AI is going to be another course that maybe Brother Ebraheem can come and teach us, inshallah. Thank you so very much. This is for you from